Transformative is a series of short films that try and explain the history of fashion photography as seen from the perspective of the stylist, the makeup artist and the hairdresser. Okay, so tell me about this person, because we talked a little bit about the fact European way of working, where it tends to go on for hours and it's less sort of less regimented in that way. But Steven Meisel,
yes,
this photographer, is probably the king of sort of fashion photographers, certainly in America. An amazing photographer. But he takes on that American system and still produces incredible images. So tell me a little bit how that happens.
I think Steven's a very special person in that sense, because I think he has the perfect balance of art and commerce. Right, quite literally, because that's his agency. And I think he's so aware of how to make something that is quite unusual become commercial without losing its identity or its strength. So I think that's really quite a remarkable feat. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know a lot of people. Well, actually, I think everyone has their thing. So tell me a little bit about this shoot and about how a day on this shoot would run. Just give me some. Is it a 1-day shoot, 5-day shoot? This was a 1-day. This was a 2-day shoot, and it was for Italian Vogue, and it was with Devon. We did a job before, and I just said, he's like, what do you think about Devon? And I said, she reminds me of a doll. Right. In fact, when I look at her, I'm reminded of a book I have, which is called Astral Doll. Right. And he said, show me it. Yeah. And I went, it's this, and it was by a Japanese doll maker. And he went, wow, that's really incredible. And then we got talking, with Pat, and we just basically started layering inspiration on top of inspiration, and we built this story which was basically shot in one room from the same angle, but Devon looked completely different in every picture. And the references came from like Richard Lindner, the artist, fantastic. Alice in Wonderland, Astral Doll, Hans Belmer, blah blah blah. They just kind of came from everywhere. She was half albino Japanese, European. We just built it. And just very pragmatically, what time you turn up in the studio? How long did the day last? This was a little later than 6 o'clock. Okay. Yeah, it was about 9. We started at 8:30 and we finished at 9. 8:30 in the evening or 8:30 in the morning? In the morning, okay. So at 8:30 in the morning, finished at 9 in the evening? Yeah, 2 days. And how many people on the shoot? About 12. Right. And I know you from working on different shoots. Sometimes, not always Eugene, sometimes you can be a little lengthy in your hair making process. I can. So, does Steven, is he on your case? Does he push you to say, hurry up? See, this is the thing about New York, right? When we talk about art and commerce, in New York, I can afford to have 6 assistants on the shoot. Whereas in England, do it yourself. Do it yourself or one. So there's a very different take on it. And I think in England, I think we take things for creativity for granted. And I think it's sometimes we don't really know what to do with it. I think it's quite hard being a creative in London, but I think that's really why it makes such good creatives, England, because you have to struggle and it's hard. In New York, it's very, very different. What do you need to get the job done? You got it. It's very much like that, because we need to be out of here on time. So from a logistical point of view and a financial point of view, they're prepared to give you what you need to do your job. Whereas here we don't have it. It's not that no one's not prepared to, but we don't. Because we're an island. We're not a continent. No. You know.
And just to stay with your relationship with Steven a little bit, because Pat moved almost, it seemed to be from the outside,
Yes.
Pat moved from Craig to Steven, almost as if from one marriage to another marriage.
Yes.
Did you move with her?
No.
Okay.
I had a girlfriend in England.
Right.
That I was seeing for about 8 years. No, and I bought a house. And then I got married. So for me, that marriage ended, I guess.
Right.
You know, because I think.
Do you mean the marriage with Steven or the marriage with Craig?
The marriage with Craig I've always been married to Craig.
Right.
You know, through better or worse, we are, and I think, well, I know what we've done has been, I guess, just. I think my best work I've probably done with Craig. Yeah. I think, but. Yeah. No, Craig moved to New York as well, and Pat moved to New York. Yeah. I had a life in London really, and I wasn't really prepared to give that up. Yeah. So I used to travel a lot basically. Yeah. When the jobs kind of like came in, what I would do is I would block book myself for like a week or 2 weeks in New York, and then come home and do life. Yeah. But I never really wanted to live there.
Yeah. Because Steven Meisel pretty much has Pat with him in LA now, I guess.
Yeah.
Pretty much all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And did you? Is Steven Meisel, I take it, is somebody who you would consider one of the major relationships in your life? Is that correct, or you only worked with him a few times?
I worked with him quite a few times, about 12 times. I think I learnt a lot from Steven. Yeah. And I've been very lucky to actually work with him, as I've been lucky to work with like Penn and Avedon, and all of those greats. And I've been very fortunate. I think I've worked with every great that there is, to be honest with you, apart from Helmut Newton.
Right. Too late.
Well, yeah, I had an option, and then like 3 days later, he wasn't around. It was literally,
really?
Yeah, it was kismet. It was really funny, actually. Literally, I was going to work with him 1 week, and then he had a car crash, and that was it.
Crikey.
You know, but he was probably the person that I really wanted to work with.
Yeah.
But didn't happen, mate.
Well,
I'm afraid.
Yeah, wasn't meant to be.
You know, it wasn't.
A little bit back, keeping on you on Steven a little bit. I want to know more about his process. I want to know how he works. And is it different from Stephen Klein, or very different from Craig?
I have a feeling, right, and I don't know if my feeling's right. Yeah. That with Steven, a lot of work creatively is done beforehand, for sure, in terms of research. And I think he spends a lot of time in crafting a story. When he's ready to do a story, he gives you the relevant information. Right. But he pretty much lets you get on with what you feel, because I think he's one of those. He's a photographer that kind of really respects the artist. Right. And he wants the artist to do what they feel, and I think the artist is chosen for what they do. Right. And how they do it. Yeah. You know, so I think nothing is left to. Nothing's left to fate. It's really very well planned. Yeah. And then you get there, and there's just like masses of research. There's like 10 polyboards of pictures. Right. Literally. Not that you copy them, but they're things that you can always go back and look at and glean some kind of inspiration from. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's a very, very different way of working. Yeah. He
seems to have a unique way of working with the models. I haven't often noticed that girls that we sort of find over here that start out, and you work with them, they're a little bit awkward or stiff or whatever it is, and then they go off to Steven and come back from Steven, and all of a sudden they can model.
Yeah, totally.
And do you notice that in how...
It's the Meisel School of Modelling, for sure. Yeah. I think Steven is an extremely handsome man. When he was younger, he was very beautiful. Yeah. And he obviously grew up in New York as a kid. Yeah. Went to lots and lots of clubs, very glamorous places. Yeah. And I think he's obsessed with beauty. Obsessed. Yeah. Right. He looks at it. He dissects it. Like he's really, really obsessed. And I think anyone that's kind of that obsessed by beauty is going to be like incredible at doing it. He's got an incredible eye.
Yeah.
You know, and I just think he kind of loves women.
Yeah.
In that respect, like he's so knowledgeable. Just
so how do you think he changes the models? Does he tell them how to behave, or do they just pick it up intuitively, or what's the conversation going on between him and Devon?
He talks to them when he's kind of doing something, and he's really, really clever because he doesn't actually tell them to do stuff. He talks to them about something, he suggests it, and they do it.
Right.
You know.
So, for instance, what would he be saying to Devon in this picture?
He would be saying, "Look at yourself in the mirror." And she'd look at herself in the mirror, and he'd be like, "Think this," you know, or he'd just be aware of, I guess, the body language and the way that they looked. Yeah. You know.
The series really I do, which runs sort of concurrently to Transformative, is called Subjective, where I talk to models about the same sort of things. And I had a long conversation with Erin O'Connor about her work with Steven Meisel.
Right.
And she's produced some of her strongest work with him.
Yeah.
Because he let her do things that other photographers didn't do. He let her move. You know, he let her.
But he is bright enough to actually be able to see what someone has.
Yeah.
And he trains a lot of models, but he kind of like nurtures them.
Yeah.
He puts them in that headspace where they feel they can do anything for him.
Yeah.
That they actually are. They're not just a model.
No.
They're actually doing something that's quite major.
Yeah.
And they really, really work.
Yeah.
Like extremely well. And I think he's quite relaxed when he works.
Right.
You know, he'll just have a conversation. He's not loud. He doesn't. He's extremely well mannered.
Yeah.
And he talks to people.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the thing that, you know, he probably would have seen Erin like 4 years beforehand when she was, you know, doing something, and just like she'd just probably be sitting in his head. Yeah, I'm going to do something with her one day. I'm not really sure what it's going to be, and then all of a sudden it would click.
Yeah.
And he would go, I want to work with that girl.
Yeah.
You know, so I think he really has a photographic eye and a photographic memory.
Yeah.
You know, and his casting is absolutely fantastic. Like it's like second to none.
Yeah.
Like he knows what a girl, he can see what a girl can do just by like looking at it, he can smell it.
Yeah.
You know, he just knows.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's very, very rare.
Yeah.
You know,
Clearly.
people actually know. He's never insecure about what he does.
Right.
Never.
Right. Interesting. Well, the images are the proof of that.
I think so.
Incredible.
The proof is in the shot, right?
Yeah.